Persian gents, welcome to UX, and this is a question that I've been asking since I learned that Gerald R. Ford is at the coast near Israel, not near where Iran is, where Lincoln is. I thought it arrived where Lincoln is. So why USS Ford chose the Mediterranean over the Persian Gulf? Even I'm wondering this. I just assumed so it can have a longer diameter. Why keep two aircraft carrier at one place? That's weird. So I guess the reasoning behind that is like a wider diameter. But they could have kept it like more south of India side, where that American island, which I always forget the name, where you put B2 bombers. Like, in Indian Ocean, you could have put it there. Why all the way to Israel? I also heard of a report that it's to protect Israel, Aegis system, defending Israel. I guess that's the reason. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is by the channel Navy Decoded. Awesome channel. Surprisingly low subscriber considering how much views this channel gets. This is just less than 24 hours old video and it's like over 100,000 views. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Let's do this one.
2026, the Eastern Mediterranean. The ocean does not offer comfort. It is not a sanctuary, nor is it a theater for blind heroism. It is a cold, unforgiving buffer zone, measured strictly by mathematical constants, fluid dynamics, and thermodynamic laws. Right now, the United States Navy is anchoring the most expensive, highly complex machine in the history of human warfare in this exact body of water. 100,000 tons of forged, nuclear-powered steel, the USS Gerald R. Ford, Carrier Strike Group 12. It sits on the water not merely as a ship, but as a sovereign island of American industrial capacity, projecting a hemisphere of absolute lethality. But projection requires reach, and reach is dictated by geometry. Look at the tactical map. Look at the raw geometric coordinates. The primary objective for this strike group does not reside on a contested beachhead or a shallow coastal shelf. The target is not on the shoreline. The enemy is the integrated air defense system of the Islamic Republic of Iran. Deeply buried S-300 PMU-2 and Bavar 373 missile batteries hide within the jagged fault lines of the Zagros Mountains, shielded by millions of tons of natural rock and earth. The distance from the flight deck of the CVN-78 to that interlocking wall of radar energy is staggering. It is over 1,240 nautical miles. Here is the ultimate tactical paradox that confronts the strike group commander. Look up at the 4.5-acre flight deck of this supercarrier. Despite the $13 billion price tag of the vessel beneath your feet, you will not find a single fifth-generation F-35C stealth fighter. The primary kinetic sword of this carrier strike group is the FA-18E and F Super Hornet, a legacy platform, an undeniably capable fourth-generation airframe, but one bound by strict thermodynamic reality. It has a maximum loaded combat radius of roughly 500 nautical miles. What happens when the ultimate symbol of American power is seemingly paralyzed by the sheer scale of geography? If the enemy knows the exact physical limits of your internal fuel tanks, how do you break the equation before it breaks you? How do you shatter a face that sits firmly outside of your physical reach when every available weapon seemingly falls short of the target?
By using it the way it's supposed to be used, this is like saying enemy knows how limitation of shotgun. Yeah, it's still a shotgun. You're not going to face the guy. And the guy knows how to use the shotgun. So, yeah, okay, 500 nautical miles. But yeah, it's how it's supposed to work, though. And USA knows how to make it work.
Obsolete, muscle-driven doctrines of the 20th century will tell you to simply push forward and accept the attrition. Old logic demands that you string together thousands of nautical miles of flying gas stations, exposing massive vulnerabilities in the sky, and order your aviators to fly straight into the teeth of the enemy's surface-to-air missile rings, relying purely on speed and electronic jamming. Today, we reject that suicidal math. Blind courage does not generate lift. Bravery does not alter the ballistic trajectory of a Mach 6 interceptor, nor does it magically create fuel in an empty tank. Instead, we dissect exactly how the engineers and tacticians of the United States Navy strip down their machines and reassemble them into a distributed kill web. The weapon is no longer the explosive warhead alone. The weapon is the network. If you are proud of the cold, unyielding mathematics of American naval supremacy, type "proud" in the comments. Before we engineer the solution, we must autopsy the constraints that make this mission seemingly impossible. The primary enemy in this theater is not the Iranian Revolutionary Guard or their fortified bunkers. The enemy is aviation mathematics. The enemy is physical friction. We start with biological friction. A machine can be refueled, but a human operator cannot simply be rebooted. The USS Gerald R. Ford did not sail fresh out of its home port in Norfolk, Virginia, with a fully rested crew. It was violently redirected from a high-pressure, high-tempo deployment in the Southcom area of operations. The 4,500 American sailors on board had been floating in
That is a thing of its own, let's just say. Obviously, a lot of Iranians have been making fun of it, like, oh, your toilets are clogged. Yeah, it's like, what, nearly a year it's been operational. Obviously, it's going to face issues. And, you know, like sailors, Navy soldiers are somewhat demoralized as well, as report says. Again, like, that could be true, and it probably is true. Like, if you're on the boat for a year and now you have to fight again, yeah, it's going to be annoying. But that doesn't mean they can't fight. That doesn't mean that they're not trained for that, right? But yeah, this is like stretching like how it's supposed to work. I don't know why this carrier was chosen. You had the Bush carrier, right? Couldn't you use that? Why did you send Ford? Because Ford needs to go, right? Like it's been operational for like 250 plus days. I mean, again, it's the best carrier that you have, like best carrier in the world. But still, like, you could have used Bush. I don't get why you have to use Ford.
In a steel box for over 237 consecutive days. A-1B nuclear reactors can operate for 50 years without flinching, generating limitless power regardless of the hour. But the human nervous system has a hard, uncompromising limit. How long until the human operating system crashes under the weight of thermodynamic exhaustion and disrupted circadian rhythms? You cannot mandate focus when the brain is bleeding from fatigue, and adrenaline can only mask the degradation of fine motor skills for so long. And yet, time has run out. The geopolitical landscape has shifted, erasing the luxury of a delayed strike. National Reconnaissance Office satellites, positioned in low Earth orbit,
Technically, during the war's time, soldiers carry through for years. They have to. So that's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, okay, this is not ideal situation, but that doesn't mean they can't work. And let's not get it twisted. Ford carrier has supermarket and all that shit. So this is not really like, they're completely confined into one cubicle type of shit for a year. Like, Ford carrier is big ass carrier. It's somewhat comfortable compared to anything else. So if anyone can pull it off, is these Americans.
LEO, have just transmitted a Category 1 intelligence drop directly to the Carrier Intelligence Center. Deep inside the Zagros Mountains, Iranian strategic forces are pumping highly volatile liquid propellant into a barrage of Segil medium-range ballistic missiles. Liquid fueling is the final, irreversible step before a strategic launch. The countdown timer on the launch authority is estimated at precisely 4 hours. If the Ford cannot systematically dismantle the air defense grid protecting those silos to allow for a deep penetrating strike, the entire theater burns. The stakes are absolute. But forcing this strike introduces the sortie generation rate paradox to overwhelm the Zagros air defenses and secure the airspace for heavy bombers. The Ford cannot simply send a handful of jets. It must trigger its surge rate, an unrelenting 270 combat sorties in a single 24-hour cycle, designed to physically drown the enemy's tracking capacity. Do the math on this requirement. The cruise speed of a fully loaded Super Hornet, fighting the atmospheric drag of external fuel tanks and heavy ordnance, is roughly 450 knots. A round trip of 2,480 nautical miles equates to a continuous flight time of nearly 6 hours per aircraft. In the highly synchronized environment of carrier operations, turnaround time is everything. You cannot mathematically achieve 270 sorties a day if your primary assets are missing from the deck for a quarter of the day. If a jet is airborne for 6 hours, it is not being refueled, rearmed, or inspected by the deck crew. The flight deck starves for airframes. The laws of logistics flatly deny the possibility of a sustained surge under these geographic conditions. And if your solution is to drag the United States Air Force into the fight by placing KC-135 Stratotankers near the Iranian border to extend the Hornet's reach, that is the tanker kill zone. These tankers are vital, but their radar cross-section shines like a supernova on early warning radars. The enemy does not need to engage in complex dogfights with nimble Navy fighters. The enemy just shoots the gas station. If the tanker drops, the entire strike package is immediately starved of fuel, forcing them into the ocean. It is a failed equation. The clock is ticking down from 4 hours. To win, the Navy must fundamentally rewrite the laws of aerial warfare. When your physical arm is too short to reach the enemy, you do not attempt to stretch it beyond its breaking point. You detach it entirely. This is the mechanical core of the Naval Integrated Fire Control Counter-Air Doctrine, NIFCCA. To survive in a highly contested, anti-access area denial environment, the United States Navy deletes the concept of the fighter jet in this theater. The FA-18E and F Super Hornet is stripped of its traditional dogfighting role. It becomes ruthlessly industrial. It is a missile truck. Its sole purpose is haulage. The cargo it carries is stealth kinetic energy, designed to be released far outside the engagement zones. Enter the standoff weapon, the AGM-158B JASME-R, Joint Air-to-Surface Standoff Missile, Extended Range. This is an autonomous, low-observable cruise missile. Its effective range exceeds 500 nautical miles. It replaces human vulnerability with composite radar.
I mean, yeah, I could have told you that. I'm surprised I didn't thought of that. Yeah, obviously, there's a reason why America has long-ass range missiles. I'm pretty sure I saw Sandbox notification, he posted a video. America's new missiles can shoot missiles. Yeah, that's basically as American as it can get. So yeah, okay, how do you get close? Or how about not get close and launch a cruise missile 500 miles away? Fuck it. There you go. That's how they're going to do it. This is the flex of technology. Right? All the Iranian people are like, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. This is the technology you're dealing with. How are you going to do anything? Right? I remember the Falklands thing way long ago when, British Empire fought Falklands, right, in Argentina. So England literally, shoot whatever their cannons at 18 miles because that was its range, while Argentinian cannons could only shoot 9 or 10 miles. So they literally reposition themselves at 12 miles or something, where Argentinian cannon can't reach them, and they just sell the shit out of all the places. That's America. That's what they're going to do. You can't even touch them, and they'll just bomb the shit out of you.
Absorbing materials and cold processing power, ensuring that the most dangerous segment of the flight profile is undertaken by a machine, not a human pilot. But intelligence and extended range come with a severe weight penalty. The laws of aerodynamics demand a massive amount of kinetic energy to achieve lift with such a payload. How do you get a violently heavy, 66,000-pound max gross weight missile truck off a 300-foot runway? You cannot rely on the violent, inconsistent jolt of legacy steam catapults, which risk tearing the heavily burdened airframe apart deep in the hull. The twin A1B nuclear reactors pump a staggering 13,800 volts of electrical power into the ship's grid. This energy feeds the Electromagnetic Aircraft Launch System, EMALS. The linear induction motors discharge 121 megajoules of stored kinetic energy, applying a tightly controlled, closed-loop acceleration profile. It calculates the exact mass of the Super Hornet to the gram to ensure the airframe is not subjected to mechanical tearing, delivering a perfectly smooth transition from the deck to the sky. However, a successful launch only solves the lift equation.
Yeah, electronics is basically, modern tech, right? With all the processor and AI processing that America has, how do you implement that in physical way? This is how you do it: electronic launchers. Because steam is using physical thing like steam and air pressure or steam pressures to that's very mechanical. You need to use electronics, right? Electromagnetic controlled by electronic, with a microsecond precisions, right? This is what EMALs are. So yeah, it just makes sense. How to basically safely launch something that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. Because any other way, okay, can we launch this? No, it will just break everything because we don't know how to not linearly, how to, make a power curve that still pushes it without breaking it. EMALs can do that.
The fuel solution requires safe zone logistics. Instead of pushing vulnerable assets into contested airspace, Air Force KC-135 Stratotankers establish an orbital refueling track directly over the Mediterranean Sea. They hover in an envelope of absolute safety, permanently protected by the Ford's Arleigh Burke-class Aegis destroyers. The moment the FA-18E and F is hurled off the deck, it aggressively climbs to 30,000 feet and plugs into the drogue chutes of MPRS-equipped KC-135s. It tops off its internal tanks to 100% capacity before it ever leaves the sanctuary of the carrier group. Now the truck is loaded and fueled, but it still needs eyes to find the buried targets. This is where the distributed kill web activates. NIFCCA mandates the absolute separation of the sensor and the shooter. By severing the link between the aircraft carrying the weapon and the sensor tracking the target, the Navy achieves unparalleled survivability. The gun requires no eyes, and the eyes carry no gun. The 4-hour countdown is burning rapidly. The theoretical architecture must now transition into violent execution. The war does not start with an explosion, nor does it begin with a massive wave of visible aircraft. It starts in absolute electromagnetic silence. To provide the eyes for the fleet, a flight of Air Force F-35A Lightning II stealth fighters launches from Allied bases in the Middle East. They penetrate the airspace of the Zagros Mountains. Under the cover of their radar-absorbent geometry, their internal weapons bays hold only the absolute minimum: AIM-120 air-to-air missiles. Strictly for self-preservation, they are not carrying heavy strike ordnance. They are acting as digital vacuums, designed solely to inhale data. To maintain their stealth profile, the F-35As power down their active radars. They enter strict emission control, EMCON. They fly completely dark, refusing to emit a single watt of detectable energy. The airspace over Zagros is not empty. It is flooded with resonance NEVHF early warning radars searching for anomalies. As they thread the needle through this invisible web of radiation, the F-35A becomes a passive sensor node. The highly advanced AN/ASQ-239 Barracuda electronic warfare system silently absorbs every stray microwave emission leaking from the Iranian defense grid. It measures the signal strength, calculates the time difference of arrival, and triangulates the geographic coordinates of the dormant Bavar 373 and S-300 batteries, without ever sending a ping of its own. This critical telemetry is encrypted and fired up into the satellite architecture, using the highly directional multifunction advanced data link, MADL. The enemy is being mathematically mapped and sentenced to death, and they do not even know they are being watched. But mapping a target does not destroy it. Data is useless without a...
I mean, that is literally some next level shit. F-35 can do all that without even like emitting anything, so no radar can pick it up, while it's literally like coordinating where is what's coming from and like just pinpointing where all these batteries are. This is how like Israel basically destroyed a lot of Iranian like anti-defenses. They use F-35 eyes as well, so that's basically F-35. So Americans going to do the similar thing here with the help of F-22s, right? And probably destroy 90+% of all SAM sites, right? All the people who think like, yeah, Iranians will basically damage any American things. But yeah, you have to launch it from somewhere. And what if those launchers are destroyed before you can do anything? How are you going to do anything if you're literally handicapped, right?
Kinetic delivery system. The cloud now requires the executioners. With the targeting matrix populated in the cloud, thousands of nautical miles away, the strike package launches. The fleet of FA-18E and F Super Hornets completes their aerial refueling and establishes a holding pattern at a predetermined standoff coordinate, roughly 600 nautical miles away from the Iranian border. This is a mathematical sanctuary, completely outside the maximum kinematic range of any Iranian surface-to-air missile. To prevent early detection, the Navy pilots flip their active radars off. Deep inside the avionics bay, the fire control computers passively receive the raw targeting telemetry downlinked from the cloud. The F-35As, loitering silently over the mountains, feed real-time, millimeter-accurate kill coordinates directly into the targeting brains of the AGM-158B JASSM-ER missiles slung under the Hornet's wings. The trigger is being pulled from another time zone, entirely bypassing the need for the launching aircraft to ever see the target. However, the moment of release triggers another critical equation. The aircraft must drop the weight and vanish before the carrier's logistical cycle collapses. At the 600 nautical mile mark, the final authorization is confirmed. and the order is given. With a mechanical clunk, the heavy JASSM-ER stealth cruise missiles drop from the pylons, their small turbofan engines instantly spooling up to sustain flight. And in this exact second, the brilliant logistical math of the NIFCCA doctrine reveals itself. The instant the weapons leave the aircraft, the FA-18 ENF pilots bank hard and execute an immediate return-to-base maneuver, RTB. They do not push forward to confirm.
Deuces, they're just out. Yeah, job's done. They basically land and cruise missile is still in flight. Oh, it hasn't reached the yeah, it's gonna take time. It's few hundred miles.
The kills. They turn their tails to the target and fly straight back to the Mediterranean. Because the aircraft only flew a fraction of the full distance, turnaround time plummets. Deep in the hull of the Ford, the advanced weapons elevators operate with frictionless precision, moving up to 1.8 million pounds of ordnance seamlessly to the deck, to rearm the returning jets. By decoupling the distance of the strike from the distance the aircraft...
Yeah, to give certain perspective, in India-Pakistan war, India launched a lot of Scalp and Hammer stealth missiles. These are French-made, I think, French and British-made. Basically like Western-made. Kind of shares the technology when it comes to this thing. So American things are probably going to be better. But you can kind of see that. So, Scalp and Hammer. They launched that, and none of the Chinese SAMs worked. None of them got intercepted or even like tried to intercept. And this shit blew up a lot of ports, a lot of, like military air forces, like airports and things. There are way too many videos of like shit blowing up in airports. These are military things. I guess that's how it works in Pakistan. Even like normal airports have a military things in it. So this shit was blowing up in capital, in every other cities you can think of. And none of the Chinese SAMs work, right? And these are supposed to be latest Chinese SAMs that Pakistan was touting we have. None of that shit work because of these stealth missiles. Imagine American stealth missile. You think S-300 and this Bawar are gonna intercept that? Really?
Aircraft must travel, the Navy has hacked the timeline. The volume of fire is strictly a byproduct of manipulating time and space, allowing the carrier to achieve its 270 sortie surge rate without exhausting the crew. The aircraft are now safe. The carrier's logistical loop is secured, but the weapons are now alone. The digital setup ends here. The kinetic reality begins. Hundreds of AGM-158B JASSM-ERs drop to the deck. They engage in extreme terrain-following flight profiles at high subsonic speeds. They use the jagged Zagros rock formations to physically mask their radar signatures from ground-based interceptors. As the swarm crosses the border, Iranian cyber commands detect the anomaly. They activate high-powered GPS spoofing arrays. The satellite links are violently severed. The navigation channels are flooded with cryptographic noise. A lesser weapon fails here. The JASSM-ER simply switches its sensory input. Its artificial intelligence instantly falls back to its internal inertial navigation system. It activates its imaging infrared seeker and autonomous target recognition algorithms. It compares the thermal heat signatures of the terrain against its preloaded solid-state drives. It navigates by geometry and heat alone. The electronic jamming is rendered mathematically irrelevant. 10 nautical miles from the target zone, the physical limit of stealth, the massive phased array radar dishes of an Iranian S-300 PMU-2 battery blast through the ground clutter. The tracking algorithms lock on. The automated defense protocols initiate. Massive 48 N-6E2 interceptor missiles clear their vertical launch tubes. They accelerate to Mach 6 in seconds, tearing through the thin mountain air. The JASSM-ER swarm reacts. The formation instantly scatters to complicate the intercept geometry. But Mach 6 is unforgiving physics. 3 JASSM-ERs in the vanguard are caught. They are obliterated by a hypervelocity shockwave of tungsten fragmentation, expanding at 8,000 feet per second. The composite airframes are shredded into burning debris. The enemy has drawn blood, but they have fallen into a fatal mathematical trap. An S-300 launch vehicle has a hard physical limit. It holds exactly 4 ready-to-fire interceptors. It burned them all to kill the vanguard. But the United...
Like I said, you're giving them way too many credit, man. I just gave example of Pakistan. You really think Iranian SAMs are going to be any better? Are they going to be maintained? Isn't Iran facing money problem? Right? Pakistan is facing money problem. So is Iran at certain level. There's a reason there are water problems there. I mean, how much maintained these SAMs are, right? Are they even going to be able to like intercept any of this?
The United States Navy did not send 4 targets. They sent a swarm. While the empty Iranian launchers mechanically struggle to reload their tubes, the sky is already filled with the rest of the strike package. The engagement bandwidth is completely overwhelmed. It is a buffer overflow of kinetic energy. The trailing JASSM ERs fly directly through the expanding clouds of shrapnel left by their destroyed wingmen. There is no hesitation. There is no morale to break. They strike the radar dishes and the command bunkers with precisely calculated kinetic overlapping, ensuring no single structure survives. 1,000-pound penetrating warheads detonate deep inside the concrete structures, collapsing the subterranean networks. The integrated air defense network is systematically dismantled. The Sejal ballistic missile silos are laid bare, their protective umbrella entirely erased. The threat is neutralized with exactly 3 minutes to spare on the countdown clock, and the casualty report for the United States Navy reads 0. Not a single American aviator was lost, because when the fire rained down, there wasn't a single American aircraft within 1,000 nautical miles of the blast zone. If you respect the ruthless engineering, the unyielding physics, and the cold mathematics that dictate the actual rules of the modern world, lock your targeting sensors onto the subscribe button. Join the ranks of Navy Decoded. Now, let us close the loop on the paradox that defined this entire engagement. Why did the USS Gerald R. Ford drop anchor in the eastern Mediterranean instead of pushing into the Persian Gulf? The enemies of the United States looked at the tactical map and mistook a geographic standoff for weakness. They banked their survival on the hard limits of jet fuel, the thermodynamic exhaustion of a 4,500-man crew, and the rigid boundaries of physical space. They believed that distance alone provided immunity. They failed to understand the geometry of modern warfare. Pushing a 100,000-ton supercarrier into the shallow, mine-infested, and highly contested waters of the Persian Gulf is not an act of bravery. It is a tactical miscalculation. It puts the Navy's most expensive asset inside the enemy's primary kill box. By holding the line in the Mediterranean, the United States Navy did not retreat. They transformed a distant sanctuary into an untouchable...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the reason is to defend Israel. And it's not about limitation of what. Okay, let's have an example here. In a military warfare, you need 10 things. America has 100. Limitation of fucking what? America's capabilities to literally launch a B-1 Lancer from their mainland, just go few distance and just launch missiles that has an insane range and come back. Even Rapid Dragon from C-130s, they can drop from long distance. They don't even need with these carriers and shit. They have enough drones and satellites to pinpoint which shit is where. Just one F-35 probably pinpointing things, and they can shoot shit all the way from USA mainland. 20, 30, 40 missiles from Rapid Dragons and God knows what. 50 million technology they have. They don't even need to do all these things. They literally have a buffet of things. What should I choose to use? That's what they're doing. They're not, do I have this equipment? Oh, that's not even the question. I have way too many equipments. Which one to use? Usually USA goes by which is the least amount of equipment I can use, so there is no money wasted. That's how they work. But if shit hits the fan, and if it becomes like something like a reputation thing, they'll use the best thing they have, fuck the money. At that time, everything's going to be fucked. This is the problem. This is the thing, in Iran, people are not realizing, right? A lot of people in my comment were boasting about like how they're going to sink American ships. When you realize what I just said, you realize what you're fighting, right? You can't just do that. You can't just sink these ships. America has way too many things to do, right? They can easily choose anything. They can choose the worst thing you can think of. Even if it costs a lot of money, you're basically fucked at that point. You can't even know where this is like fighting aliens. You won't even know where it's coming from. Like, where was it launched? You just see shit blow up left and right. But well, there you go. 1,200-mile trap. Why USS Ford chose Mediterranean over Persian Gulf. If you like my next subscribe, and I'll see you next time.